York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K. Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, welcome to the New York Knicks podcast, episode 640. That's also how many Knicks players are currently injured, if you're keeping track.
That's also how many minutes Deuce McBride is now playing a night.
And Josh Hart, yes.
And Josh Hart. We are in the weirdest Knicks hell of all purgatory weirdness of all until guys come back from health. It's been a weird season, Jay.
It's been a very, very weird season. Not really a fan of the last few weeks. It's been such a roller coaster. It went from like the Knicks are pretty good to the Knicks are going to win the championship to I hope the Knicks can stay in the play-in.
I mean, if you break it down even more, we started off bad start to the season. We were like 5 games in. We were like, is Randall broken?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's going on? Are we screwed with Randall? Then he starts playing well. We have a stretch where we're like, RJ, hey, RJ's awesome. He's finally taking that next step. Then RJ misses some games, has a migraine, forgets how to shoot until he goes to Canada. Then we have the trades. We get OG. Suddenly we're on top of the world, and then bomb after just like shit after shit after shit.
So since the last episode, Brunson got injured, which was
on the one hand, Brunson got injured. On the other hand, like it seems like we escaped the worst of it. He was jumping in midair when his knee got injured. It seems like he actually ended up colliding knees. But the thought at the time was it was a non-contact injury, which usually means we're completely screwed.
The angle when you're watching the game looked like a non-contact injury, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well, that's season over. Then after like just watching the replay over and over, you see there was a knee-to-knee contact. So it looks like it's just a bruised knee. He's just going to be out a few games. OG looks like he's progressing pretty well. Randall's still up in the air.
Well, the latest, actually, Ian Begley, I think, came out and said, if I remember correctly, like, Randall should be back. They think Randall might be back in the next week or so. OG a little after, and Mitch around then also. Like, they all three of them in the next few weeks may be on the court playing for the Knicks, which would be unbelievable.
So the Knicks might have 6 or 7 games at actual full strength, which should be good enough to, like, mesh and ramp up. Which would be
it's going to be interesting to get the guys. I mean, like, obviously Randall had a whole off season and the first 5 games of the season, and he wasn't coming off this big of an injury and was terrible.
Yeah, but I feel like an ankle is different from like your non-shooting shoulder.
Yes, absolutely.
So I feel like he's not going to come out and like, first of all, his shot shouldn't be off. Like his shot was off in the first few games because he didn't have any lift. Like,
right.
I don't think his off shoulder is really going to affect that too much.
But it's also like, coming off that injury, do you have some fear of contact? Like, he's a guy that he like really takes a lot of contact, really physical game. And even if like you can totally do that now, you probably have some hesitancy for a little bit because and that's good to have him ramp up games. I mean, chances are Randall is not going to look amazing coming back. And might just be a more limited player for the rest of the season in the playoffs. Like maybe you might get like 20 to 25 minutes. You might want to be prepared to have 20, 25 minutes, and maybe like Precious will still play a lot of minutes.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? You don't think he's going back to me? Like, Tibbs is like, you feeling okay? And Randall's like, I don't know. 48 minutes tonight. We're doing it.
This whole Tibbs thing, he doesn't do that. Like, he plays guys a lot of minutes now because there's nobody healthy. There's literally 8 guys unless you want to start going to G League guys like Charlie Brown and Jacob Toppin. Like, there's only 8 guys there, so they're going to play too many minutes. When the Knicks were at full strength, nobody was in the top 15 in minutes played.
By the way, just we are coming off of the Knicks got kind of crushed by the Warriors, tried to hang with them, did not work out. They had a great win against Philly. And then they what should we call it? And then they lost last night to the Hawks, and kind of disappointingly.
That was not a pretty game. No.
Oh, not Philly. Sorry, I meant Cleveland. They beat Cleveland.
They beat
And
Cleveland,
really
which
fun,
was
yeah,
very
really fun.
nice.
Like a terrible start with Brunson getting injured, but then a really fun performance with the Knicks came just flat out outplayed Cleveland. The rest of the game.
How in their head are the Knicks for Cleveland? Like, they stomped them in the playoffs, and then they just played them without 80% of the starting lineup and beat them anyway.
In defensive Cleveland, they were missing Donovan Mitchell, and they are a really average team without Mitchell.
Well, also in defensive Cleveland, Brunson's injury threw off their rhythm. The now infamous quote from Mobley. Which,
in fairness, like I know people are giving Mobley crap for that, and I don't really want to defend Mobley, but like if in the interview, the reporter kind of like led him with that question.
you don't have to.
I mean, he could just say, no, it didn't throw us off. But they were like, oh, did it throw you off? Did it like, he's like, sure, I guess.
He definitely could have said no. It was 47 seconds into the game. But what rhythm did you have? You took one shot.
I think the exact quote was, whatever excuse you have, we're a bunch of bitches.
Yeah. Oh, well,
That
that
was
was
the exact quote from
that was my point. Like, they definitely don't want to see the Knicks in the playoffs.
It is crazy just on this roster. Everyone that is playing now was basically a part-time player coming into the season. Almost, I guess the only person you could say Josh Hart was playing major minutes to start the season, but he was even a part-time. He was like a coming off the bench. Like it's crazy. Our number one offensive option is Dante DiVincenzo, who was coming off the bench 15 to 20 minutes a night to start the season. McBride wasn't playing. Achua was not playing that much in Toronto. Like it's absurd, like what we have to work with at the moment.
It's really a skeleton crew. The Knicks signed Shake Milton.
The shake.
So
Hey, have you ever tried the Grimace Shake? Or do you know what the Grimace Shake is?
I saw some people drinking some Grimace Shake, but I have not tried it. No.
I have not tried it. My kids have not tried it, but they know what it is, and apparently it's like a popular like among kids or whatever, the younger generation. This thinks the Grimace Shake is cool. Hopefully Shake Milton is as cool as the Grimace Shake.
So that might be it for Burks, right? If Shake.
You'd think Burks was freaking terrible last night, and Shake didn't even come on the floor.
Maybe he needed to learn some plays. The two that Tibbs has.
Can you learn what Alex Burks is doing? So just jack up shots with no regard to where the basket is or where your teammates are.
Burks is playing like he's trying to prove something instead of like playing in the flow of the offense. Which
Burks,
he needs to
he's
stop.
not. I mean, Taj is, by the way, signed with Detroit for a 10-day contract. So he's no longer in the Knicks world.
Well,
he
signed 10 days with the Knicks. They would have had to sign him the rest of the season. Which,
I mean, but Taj looked terrible.
Yeah,
he looked like previous Taj was good. He looked washed up. Alec Burks was like, "Hold my beer, Taj. I'm gonna look even more washed up." He looks so bad.
But Burks was playing good in Detroit. Like, I know Detroit stinks, but like he wasn't shooting. He wasn't bricking wide open threes. Like he was shooting around 40%. So I don't know.
I'm starting to wonder, was he really looking good in Detroit, or was it because Detroit like, hey, you don't even have to try to play defense here, so you only have to play half the court, and we don't really even care what you do here. Like we're just gonna lose every game. Like you don't have to put the effort in.
Yeah, but he wasn't shooting like this.
I mean, maybe he's tired from playing defense. Kind of playing defense.
Sort of.
He wasn't this bad when he was with the Knicks the first time. This is just like. He has not had a single good game since he's been on the Knicks. I know he's not in the exact role he would be in, but he's been absolute garbage in terms. Yeah.
Honestly, if everybody comes back for the playoffs, he probably won't even play anyway.
I know we talked about this before.
Yeah.
I kind of want to cut him right now.
Then you're gonna have like Jacob Toppin playing or Charlie Brown.
Why do they even have? So the Knicks, I think they have an open. You have to have 14 guys on your roster. I think I think they are like they have to sign someone soon to fill that 14th spot.
Yeah.
Is there no one in the G League that can get some minutes that you could just sign to another 10-day contract? Like you don't even play fucking Charlie Brown. You don't play. Maybe you want to develop Jacob Toppin. You think something is there. But is there anything there with Charlie Brown? Is there anything there with what's his name? Who's the other guy they have? Daquan Jeffries.
Yeah.
Why? Just find someone in the G League, put them on the roster. Someone that can freaking contribute. Is there no one in the G League that could miss shots as well as Alec Burks can?
Yeah, well, it's got to be a big man. iHeart looks terrible, and he's looked terrible for a while. That Achilles is clearly not healed up.
Looked terrible. I don't think he looked terrible last night. You thought he looked terrible last night?
He's okay. Terrible is maybe a little strong, but he is
I
not.
think
he
that was
looks.
a little. He had some good plays on defense.
He looks nothing like he did a couple weeks ago.
He doesn't look. Yes, he's not fully iHeart. This is going to be a tough. I don't know. The rest of the season is going to be tough here because even when guys come back, no one's going to look that great. We're probably going to lose in the first round, and everyone's going to say, "Oh, no excuses, Knicks." And you're like, "Well, everyone's like half dead, but they're on the court. No excuses. You
Now,
guys did a complete failure. Fire Tibbs, blow it up."
Now, if they come back fully healthy a few weeks before the playoffs, they should be rolling by the time the playoffs start.
I hope so. First of all, they're in the play-in. This is going to be. I'm sorry to be pessimist, but they're going to the play-in. They're not going to the. It is going to be really tough to be in the actual like top 6.
Well, the good news with that is if they finish 7th, then they'll get to play Cleveland in the first round, who's scared shitless of playing the Knicks. So that'll be fun.
The Knicks will probably end up in the 7th seed. In the play-in, you have 3 games. Basically, you have to win 2. The lower seed has to win 1. I mean, the other lower seed has to win 2. You just have to win 1. Knicks should win the play-in. They're going to be flat out better than the other teams.
They might actually play Brooklyn.
That'd be funny.
Yeah,
That'd be really funny.
So I mean, their path might be Brooklyn, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Boston.
I'm cool with that path. That would be fine.
Yeah.
And whatever. Miami was the plan last year. They went to the finals. Whatever.
Yeah.
Knicks got to get healthy though. What do you think of last night's game against the Hawks?
I thought it was an abomination.
I am just so frustrated at DiVincenzo that he can't carry the entire. How dare you have an off night? How dare you? You were brought in here to be our number 1 option in the middle of March. Come on, DiVincenzo.
I mean, honestly, any team missing 80% of their starting lineup is probably losing every game 20 to 30 points. The fact that they beat Cleveland the night before was, and for the most part, they've been fairly competitive. They haven't been.
Yeah.
I mean, Golden State lost by like 50 points the other day, and they're, I believe, fully healthy. So
Boston crushed them. The Knicks came back. I mean, they were down by 20-something points, came back to tie the game, and then just once they tied the game, like they kind of hit a wall.
Yeah.
But the only thing I didn't get
they're
last
so
night was
shorthanded. You can't really like what are you getting from these games? Like, you can't judge this team really, right? Like,
in theory, things you're getting from these games. In theory, when everyone's back, like DiVincenzo has really stepped up. He just can do a lot more now than he could earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And so he really can be your third option on offense. As long as he's not really asked. He's not great at creating his own offense. But he doesn't really need to if other guys are back.
well, he could also shoot lights out, and if you have Brunson and Randall out there drawing attention, like, he's just going to be hitting open threes the whole game. Like,
and he was going to hit open threes. I love the fact, like, even though his shot was way off last night, his his intensity on defense was still there. He was getting deflections, like turnovers. He was playing really good on that end of the floor.
yeah.
And other things you get, like, so I am with Tibbs' reputation for overplaying guys, and like a lot of guys played big minutes last night. And I'm sure there's an actual reason, we just don't know. But why the hell did Precious not play that much? That was Precious's best 24 minutes on the floor for the Knicks. He looked great last night.
Was a little weird that, yeah, he was I think 7 for 7 at one point. Finished the game 7 for 8.
He was going to the basket, backing down guys, like great footwork, great like moves around the net. Like, his defense was freaking. He was so on defense. I mean, maybe I mean I'm gonna assume that if he was like, there's no good reason Tibbs loves playing to him.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's like, hey, maybe he has a sore ankle.
Yeah, yeah.
Something's there. Something's like where he's like, hey Tibbs, I really don't want to get fully injured. Like, you got to limit my minutes tonight.
Very possible. Very possible. He's,
Like, yeah, there's got to be something underlying. Like we're like they're like, hey, Precious is good. You're gonna kill him. You have to like ease up a bit.
yeah, yeah. Isn't it weird how like 38 minutes a game now is like, oh my God, it's grinding him into a pulp. And then you look at box scores from the 90s and like every starter played like 42 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the 90s was easier because everyone was beating each other up on the court, so that was just much easier time to be on the court. I mean, they're allowed to basically foul each other in the 90s, and everyone's playing more minutes. But now everyone's minutes have to like go down.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
But Precious looked awesome. This is the best I see. Like, so if the scenario comes back where Randall can only play 20 to 25 minutes, and that's what it is, I am very comfortable having Precious out there for the other minutes. Like, he will fill in really well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Knicks have legit two guys at every position.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
it's not like, oh my God, this position takes such a huge step back. I mean, McBride is a big step back from Brunson, but McBride has looked really good lately.
Yeah, McBride, his defense has been awesome.
For a
He's
backup
getting-
point guard, like he's better than a lot of them out there.
I mean, he's the I mean his contract looks like that is some 4D chess from or whatever you want to call it from Leon Rose. That contract is absurdly good.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, hey, McBride, I know we've barely been playing you and all that. We like you here, just stick around for a few more years. The moment he signs, they're like, ha 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 ha, you're gonna play 40 minutes a night now and look awesome.
yeah, yeah. That game.
Just out of that contract. Ha ha ha, I am Leon Rose.
He played what 47 minutes when against Cleveland when Brunson.
Yeah,
went
it
down?
would set the record for most minutes by a guy off the bench in the Knicks. Of course, why would anyone ever play 47 minutes if they were coming off the bench in a game? That wouldn't
Right.
make any sense outside of injury.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can see the Cavaliers were like, hey, we were only prepared for Jalen Brunson. Playing someone else in that position just threw us off entirely.
Mike wrote, when Brunson is healthy, he can't possibly play any minutes over Deuce at this point.
Deuce has looked pretty good.
Yeah, he's been really nice.
He's really stepped up. I don't think Ihart's looked as bad as you think he looked. I think he's looked decent. It's just like he doesn't look quite as good as before, but I think he's had some pretty good minutes on defense. He had like a pretty great block in the Cleveland game.
It's been all right. I mean, his plus minus has been way way worse. His offense he's like he was scoring in double digits. Now he's having like 5 and 6 point games. Like
He's playing less minutes also.
it just seems off. I don't know.
I mean, it's like if he plays 5 minute stretches, he doesn't get as into the flow. I don't know.
I just feel like he's not as impactful. It's just, I don't know. It's the eye test. I'm not going by any advanced metrics. It just seems like nobody was able to get to the rim for a while, and now it's like not as big of an issue.
I think he's looked pretty good. I think the numbers are just so much like the defense is so much when they have to play when Burks and Bogdanovich are out there, the defense looks atrocious.
Yeah, I mean, you can get away with one or the other, but when they're both out there, it's pretty rough.
When they're both out there, it's absurd. I mean, like I get it; they're not good defenders, but like it really falls off a goddamn cliff.
Yeah.
Do you want to guess the numbers? I have the stats pulled up for the last 15 games. Do you want to hear about some numbers from the last 15 games?
Sure. Or do I?
Okay. So, last 15 games, what do you think the opponents are shooting in terms of 3-point percentage against the Knicks?
It feels like 75, but I'm going to guess 40.
Yeah, 41%. The second worst in the NBA. Only the Jazz have been worse. And the Jazz, by the way, do they have any injuries or just like they're just terrible? But 41% from three. How do you even come close to beating that?
I mean, that's like all-star level shooting. And for an entire team to do that every game over the course of 15 games is pretty wild.
What do you think their opponents are shooting field goal percentage?
I'm gonna say, well, they almost had an all-time record, right? So was it 70% through three quarters for?
That was 70% for 3. Yes.
I'm gonna guess 52.
49.9%. Basically 50%. 27th in the NBA.
Yeah,
Hard
not
to
great.
win games. It's hard to win games basically when your defense is that goddamn bad.
Yeah, yeah. Not great. Our email is nyknickspodcast@gmail.com. Jorge writes, writing this while watching the Warriors game, is the worst part of the Burks trade going to be that we're going to trade a first rounder this summer to get rid of him?
Well, luckily, his contract is done after this season. He should not be on the team next year. He's not going to be on the team next year, right? There's no reason Burks will be on the team.
They don't, unless there's an injury, they don't need him. I mean,
you can just draft 2 players and play them. There's no way those players can be worse than what Burks is giving you right now.
right. Agreed.
What do you think the Knicks' offensive rating? Where do they rank of 30 teams? Where do they rank over the last 30 games? Or last 15 games. Sorry.
Last 15 games.
Yeah, where of the 30 teams, where do the Knicks rank?
28th.
18th. Offense hasn't been hasn't been good, but hasn't been horrendous.
Okay.
What's their defensive rating over the last 15 games? Where do they rank?
24th.
26th. Do you know who? I am not gonna guess who's 27th over the last 15 games. I find this gets a little bit funny.
Cleveland.
No, the Raptors.
I wonder
why they're so bad on defense.
Interesting.
Is there anyone there that's really bad on defense that kind of holds back your entire defense?
It's very interesting.
I don't know. There's someone there. I don't know.
Must be a coincidence.
Yeah.
Andrew writes, Leon, draft. What's that? Yeah, please draft somebody this year, Leon. Come on.
You have 2 first-round picks.
That Dallas pick is looking a little juicy now.
You have to freaking use these picks. You cannot. I know the draft's going to happen. Leon's going to be like, what if I trade the Dallas pick for a first-round pick, protected top 28 from 2031? That'll be worth a lot in trading for a superstar.
War chest.
War chat. I mean, like, the only way you get cheap talent in the NBA is through the goddamn draft. Like, and you have a chance. Like look at what's his name last night? Jalen Johnson looked pretty darn good, right? For the Hawks.
Yeah.
You know what he is? He's a late first-round pick that they developed.
Yep.
So
Dallas is in 8th right now.
Yeah, they're falling off a little bit. Where are they in the Knicks? Let me see where they are. The Knicks season ended right now. Where do they draft? It looks like basically the season ended right now. The Knicks would have the 15th pick in the draft, which is a pretty good draft pick, and the 20th pick.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
And
that's
decent chance the Knicks actually end up with because the Knicks probably will lose a few more games. Knicks would be like 14th, maybe the 14th pick and the 16th pick or something like that, or 17th pick.
not bad.
You can add to your roster with those picks and not freaking trade them for some stupid.
There's no reason.
Guy wasn't there. We only won the number 1 pick in the draft. When he was gone, we had a punt.
There's no reason to not draft somebody because the whole reason you have all these was to make a big trade. You didn't make a big trade. Now draft somebody.
Our roster is proof that you can't get someone late in the draft. Not a single guy here. The entire roster was late in the draft. Was a late first round or second round pick. Not the entire roster basically, besides Randall.
Yeah.
The entire goddamn roster is a later pick.
Yeah.
Also,
I think there's a pretty good chance that you can draft somebody who might be better than Daquan Jeffries or Charlie Brown.
Daniel writes on Facebook, Mark, have you considered putting the Knicks logo where the Jets logo is, i.e. swapping them? LOL.
I like that idea.
Okay. And anyone else think that Achua can become a Randall Light with more training? Getting real minutes has flashed the potential. Similarly, Deuce seems to be taking an IQ role.
Yeah, yeah, with yeah.
I
I would
mean,
think I agree with the Deuce part. The Achua, I mean, he's got the rebounding. His defense is
pretty good actually.
yeah, pretty good. Um, he needs to get better at being able to create his own shot.
I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah. Well, I mean, actually, no, he was creating. I mean, last night he was driving to the paint and like creating his own shot. Never mind, he really was.
Hmm.
His 3-point shooting is terrible, but it's something he can develop.
It's not like
I
Randall's
agree.
3-point shooting is great anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like he's just not really a threat from 3-point land. Like no one's ever going to guard him out there. At the same time, he could work on that. Like, I mean, how much do you think he was working on 3-point shooting going leading up to like this? It's not like he was like, "Hey, I'm going to shoot a lot of threes in my other roles." Now maybe he'll shoot more threes in the offseason and maybe get better at it.
Yeah, I mean, with other depending on the lineup, he doesn't even need to shoot threes though. I mean, he's had to shoot threes because everybody's injured. But if you have OG back and you could have Brunson, Dante, OG spreading the floor, he can do some work down low.
If the Knicks get him on a reasonable contract, I would love to have him back next year. He is the kind of backup power forward you would want.
Yeah,
A guy that
absolutely.
could slide into the center position, a guy that can really play defense, like better defense probably than Randall. Get some rebounds, really fill in somewhat on offense. Like, and I think we talked about before, but I really think McBride, like, part of that calculation with the IQ trade was like, hey, we really think McBride can do 60% of IQ at least.
Yeah, yeah, and I'd argue he's doing like 75% of IQ.
Yeah, I mean, not on offense. IQ, he's not close to where IQ was on offense, but like
He's more efficient.
he has been more efficient as of late. IQ's playing pretty. His efficiency wasn't terrible. Like
Wasn't great.
it was a lot improved over the last like year and a half.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, well, whatever. I mean, if IQ could give you 15 to 20 points a night, McBride's really giving you 10, at least 10 points a night.
yeah. Oh, would you rather pay IQ 25 million or McBride 4?
I mean, really, I'd rather just turn IQ into the best, the top three defender at the three in the NBA. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that. If you were like, hey, I got a guy who can kind of fill in for IQ, and we get one of the best defenders in the NBA, like who may or may never play basketball again because of his elbow, then we should do it. Do you think the Knicks didn't know about the elbow thing going in, right? There's no way they did.
I think they did. He was wearing
Oh,
the elbow sleeve the day he came over to New York. He was like wearing it on the plane to New York. I
can
mean,
you like, hey Tibbs, like he's got a thing with his elbow. We might want to limit his minutes. Wait, he can play defense, amazing defense. He's never leaving the court.
Cape writes fifth in the East with a second string team is amazing. I agree. I mean, they're 3-7 in their last 10, but even those some of those losses weren't like really bad, considering like most
They
other
did whatever
teams,
you're
if they
right.
have this many injuries, are losing by 40 points.
What game did you feel like they really just didn't have a shot? Like I felt like the Atlanta game, obviously the score ended up being a greater, like they lost by like what 16 points, but
Yeah.
like they were really in that game at the end of the game. Golden State game, it felt like there was kind of Golden State game, they felt like they got their butts kicked.
That was pretty much the only one though. Like they almost beat Boston.
Also, Golden State, like I know the Knicks were like you can say the Knicks don't play the best 3-point defense with this current team,
Mm-hmm.
but the Warriors were hitting some ridiculous threes.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
as
Steph Curry
does
had one of those nights where like I don't know if he hit like a million threes, but he hit some threes where you're like, you did everything you could to guard him because you're within the NBA rules, you can only guard someone so much with a 3-point shot. Like he just got like an ounce of daylight and just chucked it up there and it went in because he's the greatest shooter in the history of the NBA.
something about MSG. Everybody gets
Something about
hot.
him.
Everybody gets
Yeah,
hot at
he
MSG.
he was on fire. The whole Golden State team could not miss from three. They go to Boston, they couldn't hit the freaking backboard.
Yep, yep,
Yeah. And I know Boston plays great defense, but like, come on.
yeah.
On Twitter, Cody writes, "Is Josh Hart the new triple-double king after getting 3 in the last 5 weeks?"
So he tied Clyde, right? for
I guess so, yeah.
for most triple doubles on the for a Nick.
Sure. In a week?
I think in a season or yeah,
No, it's definitely not. 3 is definitely not the most in a season for the Knicks.
triple double. Knicks don't have a lot of
Yeah.
triple double guys.
I know, but like, there's no way most.
It was
Dear Google.
This is the part of the show where we Google trivia. It's a very riveting part of our podcast.
You know, we could besides that we could use other like I can use Perplexity or like some other AI. The most who Frazier has the most career. How many do you think the number of career triple doubles Walt Frazier has to lead the Knicks all time?
17.
23.
Okay.
Randall is 4th all time for the Knicks. How many think he has?
12.
8.
That's pretty crazy considering some guys like average a triple double now.
Russell Westbrook averaged a triple double for 2 straight seasons. The Knicks are like, Randall, 8 times. You're 4th all time. You know what's funny here? I'm looking at the list. You know who's 7th or tied for 7th?
Hmm.
Josh Hart.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, Hart's been awesome. Hart's been the heart of the team while everybody's been injured.
He has been so goddamn good.
And
it's been ridiculous.
him popping Donovan Mitchell's chain on the way back from hitting a 3 was hilarious. Did you see that?
Oh yes, that was awesome. By the way, just to confirm, the Knicks record for most triple doubles in a season is 8.
Oh, okay. I was wrong.
So,
All right.
so it was not though. Yeah, it was not I can't believe how few though.
Yeah, it's not a great list.
Not a great list at all. It's kind of embarrassing. Randall is 4th on that. He had 6 in the 2021 season.
Okay. The season everybody wanted to trade him.
Yes. Well, then that was the season. That was before he basically just shot the floor against Atlanta, and everyone was like, "He's a fake all-star. Get rid of him."
And Andrew just chimed in and said Melo had 1.
Yes, that one time. You know, it wasn't that game where he scored 650 something points or 60 points. Definitely wasn't that game because he didn't pass the ball at all that game.
I'm surprised that he got 10 assists in any game on the Knicks.
Yes, yeah, I guess I'm a little
Okay.
surprised.
Before we
But,
lose
whatever.
all our listeners, is there any other Twitter questions?
No, I posted on Twitter like just something about Randall, like, hey, like the team actually misses him. Like this is like I hate when people are saying the Knicks would be better. This is proof the Knicks aren't better without him. And some people are like, what about the other guys that are missing? Like, I wasn't saying the other guys don't matter. I'm just saying Randall does matter.
Mm-hmm.
But then people were like, someone was like, hey, like we never said Randall, like the Knicks are better without Randall. All we were saying was the Knicks were better without Randall. He's a losing player. What are you talking about? You just said your next sentence says your guys are better with. I don't know. I really shouldn't argue with people on Twitter.
Nope. It's a losing proposition.
So the Knicks are not in a position to win games. I guess.
Big game coming up tomorrow.
Who they got?
Orlando.
Tomorrow, Orlando. And if they lose to Orlando, Orlando gets
The tiebreaker.
tiebreaker.
So it's a big game.
Decent chance that Jalen Brunson supposedly might be back by tomorrow.
Okay. I don't
It's
suppose
gonna be a tough team to beat without them.
I don't suppose OG Randall Mitchell are all coming back tomorrow because that would be good.
No. They got Philly back-to-back games then, or like Sunday and Tuesday.
Well, I think Maxey just got injured. So, I mean, Philly's almost as injured as the Knicks at this point.
Not that I'm rooting for anyone to be injured, but it'd be nice for the other team to also have some issues.
Right. I hope that game isn't on ABC because then we'll keep hearing about the shorthanded 76ers with not a mention of the Knicks at all.
What was it? The Golden State game? Yeah. Well, the Golden State game of the Knicks, where the ESPN crew said that Steph Curry, who the Knicks passed on in the draft, is doing wonders tonight. Knicks didn't pass him in the draft. The Knicks knew that they were supposed to take him. They just didn't get the opportunity. How dumb how little research does ESPN do?
In fact, they didn't have a backup plan, and they panicked and drafted Jordan Hill, right?
Yeah, they really thought they were getting Steph Curry. They really tried to get him.
It's almost like they're like, Jordan Hill. I don't know. We were not expecting this at all.
It's just like ESPN's just like, well, Knicks are playing Zion tonight. I don't know why they passed him on in the draft, but
Man, they passed on Towns and Edwards. This is crazy.
man, I can't believe the Knicks passed on. I guess maybe they didn't draft Giannis. When I don't know if they had the option, but they're like Knicks passed on LeBron just like they passed on Michael Jordan.
Great research by the highly paid commentators.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Knicks, they got the next 5: Orlando, Philly, Portland, Sacramento. They should be able to go. They should be able to win at least 2 games, if not 3. I mean, Portland's an easy one. You'd think they could get at least split with Philly. They could beat Philly twice. Beat Orlando, go on a little bit of a run.
I mean, Sacramento isn't exactly lighting it up right now either. So it's they've fallen all the way to 7th, actually. So, I mean, I'm not saying like with the Knicks this injured, they should be winning these games, but it's a good time to have this part of the schedule, is what I'm saying.
I mean, just like
they should at least be competitive.
Was it all a dream? Was it all a dream? Because January was so much fun. This team was so ridiculous how they were like humiliating teams on a nightly basis.
It almost feels like a fever dream at this point.
It was so like, it wasn't like the offense was so amazing. The offense was good, but the ball, they were like, just give it the ball back on defense. Like, it was just taking the ball from the other team. It was ridiculous how well they were shutting teams down on defense.
Yeah. Giannis was selected 15th. The Knicks picked 24th. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the Knicks, I guess, passed on Jokic. They could have taken him.
That is true.
That is one that they could. I mean, the entire NBA passed on him, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah. So, what do you think? 2-3, 3-2, something like that?
5-0, Jay. And if I'm wrong, I'll just make a prediction next week.
The Stephen A special.
It doesn't matter. It would be great with like one day on the air, like ESPN or something like that. He's like, yeah, I predicted the Magic to win last night, and the boss just like ESPN executive comes out and just fires him. We need too many wrong. Stephen A, just too many wrong predictions. You're out of here.
The crazy thing for me is when Stephen A gets into debates with his co-hosts, none of them bring up the fact that he picked the wrong finals winner 7 years in a row. Like, that's almost statistically impossible to do.
I have to say also, like, when you're debating it, like you're like, okay, I know Stephen A doesn't even believe what he's saying, and we're just arguing for the sake of arguing, and is this entertaining to anyone? But I gotta freaking do it because this is what ESPN wants.
People are watching, and they pull in big numbers. I don't know. It's not for me, but somebody's enjoying it.
I don't think Stephen A, like, I think he can be entertaining at times, but like, I don't know, his shtick gets old real fast.
Yeah, he was on Bill Simmons and he talked like a normal human, and I was like, oh, he's actually like kind of interesting now when he's not screaming.
It's just that he just does the screaming shit and the overreaction stuff, and like the Knicks, if they don't trade for a star, there's no way they could win a game ever again. You're like, okay, could you just use a little less hyperbole, please? Just a little less, Stephen A, every time you speak.
All right.
I think we're done. Like the Knicks current roster is.
Yeah. So hopefully by the time we do next show, we'll either have some players back or be close to having some players back. We are nyknickspodcast@gmail.com if you want to email us. nyknickspodcast on Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or X if anybody's calling it that. And the NewYorkKnicksPodcast.com is our website. If you're bored while the Knicks are not playing, you could leave a review on Spotify or Apple or something like that. And yeah, thanks for joining. We will be back next week. Goodbye, everybody.
My love.
Goodbye, everybody.
It's all over.
Goodbye. It's time to go.
This is the end.
Say goodbye. I'm gonna leave you.
All right. I really am looking forward to covering some games with an actual starting roster again soon.
My daughter just came down at the end of the show and was staring at me, and I don't know if she's always looking off.
I saw you looking. I figured something was going on.
She like snuck down here and asked what I was doing and all that.
Oh, she's finding out about your podcast.
Yeah, it's not
She's
cool.
like, this isn't a business call. Daddy's been lying to me.
I always tell him it's a business call. Do you ever play Rummy Cube?
Play what?
Rummy Cube. You ever played that game?
Rummy Cube?
Rummy Cube.
No.
It's kind of a fun game. I recommend it highly.
Is it a card game?
It's basically it's a game with tiles, and you pick out you get like 14 tiles to start, and you have to put them together either like 3 or 4 in a row with like the same color and the same number, or I think it's different colors for 4 in a row. Like basically, it's like the same rules as you ever played Gin Rummy?
I played 500 Rummy.
Okay, you're basically looking for either like numbers, consecutive numbers, or matching numbers, and the goal is to get rid of all your tiles. Basically, it's a pretty fun idea. I guess during COVID, when everything was locked down, like we were like just hanging out with like neighbors. There was a neighbor that like they liked it. And we started playing it. It was pretty fun. Then I just hadn't played it in a while. I really liked the game, and now my daughter's really into it, and I play her a lot in it, and she beats me a lot in it.
Okay. Are you gonna join a Rummy League and not be able to do the podcast on certain nights?
No, but I'm going to I'm going to sign off in a minute to go play her in Rummy Cube though.
Sounds good. I'm gonna shut the live room. Thank you everybody for joining, and